Good morning. I'm
Wow.
gonna keep tweaking that until we have it right. We should just jump into it today. Holy crap, have we got a good one? It's low hanging fruit. It's easy pickings. And
Good morning. You're Skyler Thomas of Watching Humans, and joining you is Jack Gescheit of the Tree Spirit Project, and a really nice intro there. I see you're having fun with those wonderful graphics. You should be in advertising, my friend.
Good morning, Ray Cooper, reporting from Flagstaff.
Good morning, Ray Cooper. Huh? He's a fan and a man with a plan. And good morning. I have a friend, Lynn Klein, who's watching. She's texting me rather than jumping into the weird stream here. So thanks for people who show up. We really appreciate it, as they say in the real world, as opposed to what we do, which is have fun.
I was thinking of a theme that applies to everything we're going to talk about today. And it's the marketing theme that we talked about before. Tell people what they want to hear and they will believe it.
Try your mic a little closer. I think you're a little low unless it's on my end.
One.
There you go. Thank you. Very good. We are pro here, folks.
I was thinking, what happened to critical thinking? Why doesn't anyone ever get suspicious when marketing tells you exactly what you want to hear? Now, I understand why that's appealing, but shouldn't a piece of you say, you know what? Maybe the fact that that's exactly what I want to hear should set off an alarm.
Oh, don't. You're just trying to goad me now and get me started. Good morning, Chris Cedar. Thanks for showing up.
Good morning.
The critical thinking, the thing that AI will replace, as we all, I love this one. Some sweet guy say, yeah, I do my own research on the internet. And of course, everybody does that. I do that too. But, you know, that's like saying I went to school. Well, did that mean you went to elementary school or you have a graduate degree from an Ivy League and everything in between? And it is, I'm hoping people, I mean, I've been, as an environmental activist, for me, I want people not to abandon common sense. As well as, you know, I thoroughly believe in science as one of the disciplines that benefits humankind. Not always, and it can be abused, but all good. So what are we doing today, Skyler? What's the topic for our fans and friends?
Well, we're going to start chipping away at all of these misleading films that have been getting put out that tell people exactly what they want to hear. In one way or another, it's all about how eating meat is actually going to save the planet. It's not hurting the planet. Hey, people are waking up to the fact that animal agriculture is destroying the planet. Well, we'd better double down with billions of dollars in advertising and get our hooks into Audubon Society, Sierra Club, etc., and get all of them to put out films that say, hey, look how wonderful grass-fed beef is.
The Nature Conservancy.
Nature Conservancy.
We conserve nature by putting more European cows on the land who degraded and contribute to the climate crisis. But if we do it the right way, it's okay. If we do coal the right way, we scrub it and make it clean coal, then hey, coal is great again.
Good morning, Corinne.
Good morning, Corinne. So can we, we've already launched into it, but as an aside, as a little preamble, oh my God, before you get into it, I was out at the Tule Elk Reserve.
Oh, yes.
At Point Reyes Seashore the day before yesterday. Today is Tuesday, folks, May 6th. On Sunday, May 4th, I took a couple young vegan activist, animal lover types out to the elk reserve. I hadn't been out there myself in months, I realized, since the fence was kind of partially removed. And I just want to show a 60-second video clip, and I invite people to do what I do. Believe it or not, there's actually times, my friends will attest to this, that Jack stops talking. And that's when I go see animals. And I've never had an experience quite this intimate before. And, you know, the video will give you a little taste of it. But of course, as always, with pictures and video of wildlife and wild animals and nature, it only is a taste of how powerful the experience is. So can I show that clip and we can take it from there? Okay, so I'm going to share the screen. We figured out we can share screen. And here we go. So, so folks, I hope just for 60 seconds, you can give this full attention and just enjoy. It's a subtle thing. Can you let me know when you can see what I'm seeing? Yes?
I see.
Okay.
Uh-oh. There's a flaw with the screen share jerking around.
Yeah, it takes a little. It'll do that. So this young boy was 12 feet away from me.
I was gonna say that looks really close.
And this is shot with an iPhone. And you can see how his beautiful thick colt is, a full belly, a clean behind, his boys and girls buddies behind him, and he's just relaxed. Very different even than a cow. And he eats so little because he's a smaller animal than a giant cow. Look at that guy.
Look at those little antlers starting. Don't tell.
So that's it. Just a little taste. I'm going to stop the share.
Don't tell Strauss. Shit. Wildlife present in a national park.
So we're going to go on a nice rant here today, folks. A good deep one because it's been piled higher and deeper by the cattle industry. And I mean, I know I've seen enough of Skyler behind the scenes here. Maybe some of you haven't, but in my opinion, our man Skyler here is motivated by a deep love for these animals and the outdoors and nature. And it's what makes us both to varying degrees pissed off at those. I mean, it's not just businesses, but it's businesses who just outright lie and don't take responsibility for killing hundreds of these elk at Point Reyes National Seashore as an example. And then, of course, doing massive ecological damage to America and the planet. But here in Marin County, even with people who are educated and know better, and they're just lying to protect their businesses. So we're going to get into a lot of that today.
And what happens when people start to realize that Animal Ag themselves are probably going to lie in their commercials? It's a brilliant move on their part. Get Autobahn to lie for you.
And get academia to lie for you by giving money to ag schools. So at the very least, they won't say anything ill of you when they do their UC Davis studies. It'll all be an ag school, which is, even the word agriculture is an umbrella term for both plants and animals, but it hides the harm that animal agriculture does versus plant agriculture does. In other words, I'm all for regenerative agriculture of plants. But then, of course, when you try to make that umbrella extend over cattle, regenerative ranching for cattle, completely different animal. And it is still filthy. You can sequester a little more carbon in the ground, but it can't make up for the one thing they constantly omit, which we're going to get into, which is methane emissions from cows. I don't know. Do you have any clips to share today, or I'll let you take it here, Skyler, where you want us to go?
Well, this is from Hooves on the Ground, Wings in the Sky. And you actually have Autobahn representative there. Also in that film, you have someone from Point Blue, whom we know are garbage now also. And the other people are actual meat industry ranchers standing in a field of invasive annual European grasses in a film talking about promoting native habitat.
What's the name of the film again? And tell us about it. Just give me an introduction to it.
Hooves on the Ground, Wings in the Sky. And it's already like 2 years old. In fact, I did my first critique of it 2 years ago. That's how fast time is flying by.
And so I don't actually know that film. It's interesting. You and I kind of do our own little research, and we meet in the middle here to do a live, exciting show, but I don't know that film. I don't know.
Well, one reason that it stands out is that it's actually produced by Audubon Society.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, here's a screenshot from it that I think you'll appreciate.
Oh, God. Oh,
look at the, hey, everybody, look at the graphics. Look at the graphics. Be impressed.
Wow. Oh, my God. We got to go through this one at a time. This is so wonderful. Maintaining habitat for birds and other wildlife. There's a clump of trees in a field of beat down European grasses. And over there, we're maintaining some habitat over in that oasis over there, you see? Wow.
What you're seeing there is pretty much California, period. Cattle.
Wow.
A monoculture of non-native grasses and what few trees were not chopped down.
Wow. I mean, it's honestly, I want to make a spoof of this, but it is a spoof. Look at this. Capturing carbon. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how could I sort of like point to a city and then say capturing carbon and point to, some big guy's ass. And it says increasing native plant diversity, and it's pointing to one tree up in the background there on the hillside, like again a street in Manhattan where I grew up. So that's my touchstone, and it points to one tree. You know, cities increase plant diversity. We brought this fig tree in from wherever and planted it in the middle of Fifth Avenue. Oh my God! And then providing livelihoods, that doesn't point to anyone there, but I guess there's one rancher family on that 10,000 acre spread. So there you go.
Now hold on a second. I'm just gonna address Corinne.
Wow.
Corinne, I think you need to turn the volume up on your computer because I'm looking at my meter and I'm off the chart with my microphone and I can hear Jack loud and clear. If anyone else is having trouble hearing, let us know. But
and someone calls this degenerative ranching. That's great.
Welcome, NC.
Degenerative ranching. Thank you. I think you did that last time, but I'm going to remember it this time. Wow.
I wonder if they even like intentionally pointed their little graphics at something, because I don't even know if they were aiming at that tree. Because look at, I mean, what are they aiming at when they say providing livelihoods?
I mean, also, you know, the trouble too is coming from East Coast. When I came to California, I would see these giant, vast rolling fields like this. And again, I just say this ad nauseum, but so be it. It's the truth. It wasn't until I saw the Shame of Point Reyes that I got my, you know, very brief education, which is your 90-minute documentary about the Point Reyes, but it pointed to those rolling green hills and taught me, oh, it's actually not an original healthy habitat. It's an imported one from bringing in cattle and bringing in their grasses, and then the cattle trampling all other vegetation down, not giving it a chance to heal. Even if you rotate them around, which we're going to get into, it still doesn't offset the devastation, the damage that cows do.
Speaking of, I think that this screenshot from the same film.
Wow.
I guess that's an example of rotational grazing and why you have to do it. That's what a small family ranch of cattle does to the ground quickly. And the area that isn't trampled to nothingness, once again, is not supposed to be on this continent. That is not what the wildlife want. I got to tell you what's hilarious about that film is that they talk about native wildlife throughout the whole thing and don't have one shot. Don't have one shot of a native animal.
Yeah. It's, you know, and a Point Reyes, the example is, you know, if there's one bear that occasionally gets out there, like that bear is a threat to, you know, eating a calf. So it has to be chased off at best or worse. Wolves, you know, no one's going to want to reintroduce wolves for all sorts of reasons because humans are afraid of big wild animals that might one day ever, you know, threaten them in any way. Even packs of coyotes could, you know, take down a calf. So careful with the coyotes in the property. The one mountain lion.
That's why the Mendozas illegally shot coyotes, as the ranch hand let me know.
Wow. I don't
Yeah, no punishment for that, right?
Wow.
Point Reyes National Park Service.
The point being that if you set up a for-profit cattle ranch exploiting domesticated cattle, wildlife, especially predators, are your enemy. At the very least, they need to be fenced out. Second, hazed off. And third, if they are persistent, then you call in wildlife services and they will kill them for you. So cattle ranching, it's just, I want to keep, that's a theme, one of the themes of the show, because it's such a destructive force, but just in so many ways, it's a destructive force.
Well, that was always profound for me when I was working on the Shame of Point Reyes, is that these ranches claiming to be wildlife friendly are so anti-wildlife that they won't even tolerate herbivores. Forget about carnivores. They won't even allow other herbivores to be there because it's too much of a competition. If native wildlife existing near your property is a threat to your livelihood, how can you possibly say that you have a marriage with nature?
And, you know, a lot of in my mind, what we're doing here today is for our listeners and people who watch this show in the future, beyond today, Tuesday, May 6th, is to give them enough information to be able to critically think and debunk the huge public relations myth of regenerative cattle ranching. It is degenerative. I love that word. Thank you, NC. And it is also not humane. They say we're more humane because they're not crowded into a feedlot. Well, you know, 5 percentage points better. Sure, they're not crowded into a feedlot, but there are so many ways The industry is horrifically cruel, brutal. If we did a show just showing the brutality of an organic small dairy farm, you would turn away in disgust and be angry at us for showing you the truth of a small dairy farm. And again, because you do have this picture like they just showed of that, oh, look at all the cows out in the field, it looks so nice and happy, versus the even worse off cattle who are jammed into a feedlot in Bakersfield in the hot sun. People are fooled by the public relations to think it's better. It's still horrifically brutal. Or as I like to say, being of the Jewish persuasion, hey, we treat our little Jewish boys and girls better. We let them play in the swings before we send them off to the death camp. Is that in poor taste?
I mean, you're not gonna
not gonna drag you into that one.
You're not gonna get me upset. That's for damn sure. Look, I know I probably come off as judgmental because of my anger. It's probably important for me to point out that this was a learning journey for me too, going from the stages of, oh, everything out there is green,
right?
Not really differentiating different plants, what they do, what they're supposed to do, which ones are supposed to be here and not be there. And with the reason that I like making fun of hooves on the ground, wings in the sky, is it's a great opportunity for us to walk together through marketing and see how poorly done this film was. But if human beings don't have a clue what they're looking at, then just listen to the words and they'll tell you what you want to think you're seeing. But I've got one more still frame to show before we watch the film. This is from their film. Like, this is as close to wildlife as we see is cattle. And this is invasive Italian thistle in the foreground, a nasty, terrible plant. And otherwise abused ground, which, by the way, of course, they filmed in the spring so that things were at least green, because all that, except for the native trees, is going to be yellow and combustible probably within a month and a half from when this was shot.
You know, just looking at that picture, it's, if you didn't know any better, you'd say, oh, look, it's green and there's cows and they have a little room to walk around. It's so much of how we interpret reality, let alone this issue, depends on what we, our knowledge base, what we bring to a scene. So as they say, well, actually they say, what is it? Knowledge influences experience. You know, what you believe or belief affects how you interpret what you're seeing. I stood with a Sierra Magazine freelance writer at Point Reyes Seashore looking over M Ranch. It's basically like that, but it's gigantic plain. You're on Pierce Point Road looking out at, I don't know, 500 acres of open space with a few cows in the distance. And I was trying to explain to him this very point. Like, this is all destroyed land. There's no forest here anymore. There's no coastal scrub. It's all beaten down by cattle. And he seemed to agree and understand it. But then he wrote, you know, in his article for Sierra Magazine, the magazine for the Sierra Club, like, well, we can't remove, if we remove the cows and there's no predators for the elk will do damage to the land. Like, wow, you just didn't get any of it. You just went right back to your default, which is full of, you know, faults. There you go. Ray says it's not what you see, it's also what you don't see. It's not just what you see, it's also what you don't see.
Exactly. I got to wonder if the producers of the film, they clearly were clueless. Like, you don't show that shot when you're promoting native habitat. You don't. But then I could take that further. I don't know if the people on the ranch know. I mean, these people that call themselves connected to the earth are fucking clueless. Like, they are disconnected from earth. And I doubt if half of them could identify native plants, other than realizing that it's other than coyote brush, because they're all on high alert. Don't let that beneficial plant be on the land. Right.
You know, I agree with you, and I'll be nice about it and say it's, I guess it's conditioning. You know, we're all subject to it. I was, you know, I didn't say, hey, I want to stop eating animal products until I was in my 50s. And I would walk around saying I'm an animal lover. I just didn't make the connection.
Right.
So there are ranchers who say it, and I've seen them say it in person in various meetings over the years.
Yeah.
And my sense is they're telling the truth when they say we love our cows. We have a relationship with the cow. And then, yeah, we need to send them off to die. What they don't tell the public, and they kind of intentionally hide, unintentionally hide, is they all die when they're children. We don't let them grow to be their natural age of 20 years old. We kill them when they're 4 or 5 or 6. All cows die young. And
That's
why
why Neiman got front and center of the new intro video. I mean, I think you were looking down here. I'll just play it real quick.
Yeah. Oh, you're a. I did not see that frame. Yeah. And Corinne, yeah, they are indeed all mouthpieces for a dying industry. And also, I'd say a dying killer industry.
You know, I know you sent me research that you'd done, high points that you wanted to look at. You also sent me a video clip that I have ready to go, and then I have my video clip. You want to just dance around, do pieces?
Yeah, I think it's fun for people to, look at us talking heads and then go to the videotape, talk a little bit over it, come back, more talking heads about it, and keep going back and forth. It keeps the show, as they say, lively. A lively show about death.
Because I've been talking so much about the Audubon Hooves on the Ground film, let's show a few seconds of that. I'm going to have to cue it up here because I had yours queued up. But
sure.
1 second.
Yeah. Thank you, audience, for coming to Skyjack show number 24. Please stand by. We're queuing up visual entertainment for you right now. I get to practice my George Carlin voiceover bullshitter voice. Yeah, we could easily do, well, a couple shows. Actually, I said this to Skyler before we went on. Do a couple shows about this. She said we could do a whole series on it. Go for it, Skyler.
Well, yeah, I've already broken this down, and it was in the members section, but it wasn't humorous enough yet, I don't think, or maybe it was mean enough. So I just put it in the members section, and I made it public today if anyone took a look at it. But okay, here we go, Jack. You haven't seen this. You haven't seen this, right?
No, we wanted to get each other like goosed seeing it live.
Well, take a look at that important green label. No accident that it's green. Audubon Conservation Ranching Initiative.
Wow.
Anyone at Audubon who happens to listen, shame on you. Get your shit together. Take a look at what has happened to you.
Wow.
When you're out here, you realize that everything in nature is connected. Hooves.
Wow. You show a forest which has nothing to do with ranching, and then it's all connected, and then we show, look how we pulverize the land with a herd of cattle.
And they don't even get it.
Wow.
Wait, it's so easy to interrupt it. That was the biggest problem.
Do it again.
Yeah. Wait, I'm going to let her finish her line.
You realize that everything in nature is connected. Hooves on the ground, wings in the sky.
Wow, that sounds cool. Hooves on the ground, wings in the sky.
And I assume that's it. I can't tell. Is that a herd of crows that are working on the feed in a farm that's built on the ground, bringing in an unusually large amount of crows, which I love, but they're attracted to farm activity in not healthy ways.
Right.
Karen does WTF? What the fuck? Oh, it's great.
That's pretty much what I said the whole time. It's unbelievable that this works on people. So, by the way, that's as close to seeing birds as you're going to get in this film. Can't even tell what they are, getting scared away so they could get the shot.
From open range to clean water.
What?
Fresh air and rich soil.
Fresh air and rich soil. I get you. Anybody, that's code for shit, the smell of shit.
I'll let my kid in.
Marty says people love to hear good news about their bad habits, even if it's bullshit. I mean, yes, you nailed what I was trying to say earlier. You said it better. You know, all marketing has to do. God, I've seen so many commercials on TV now showing the most lush, diverse habitat you can imagine, and then showing a shot of cattle. Like, this is what cattle do for the wildlife. Okay, that's not real. Go look for yourselves instead of watching a commercial. But you're not going to, because that's not what you want to know. Anyway, thank you, Marty. And then, you know, just now that I'm a vegan, just these shots don't work on me at all either. I'm like, okay, so you're getting your prisoner, your slave ready to ride it while you talk about being connected to the earth. And yet you're still creating a separation between yourself and the earth by riding your prisoner, which this polarizes me, because we got a lot of people out there that own horses that I know watch the show sometimes that don't like me saying shit like that. But
well, I agree with you, and I actually held my tongue too. But let's set that aside right now and just stay focused on this task. So run some more film, buddy. Go for it.
We are part of nature.
We're not. She said we are part of nature. In what way? We're extractive. We are extractive. I love, humans always talk about, oh, it's the circle of life. We aren't in any circle whatsoever.
Well, just to cover our bases here, yes and no. You're absolutely right in the way that you mean it. In the bigger picture, as George Carlin said, everything is natural. Natural means part of nature. We are all part of nature, but their implication is that we are in harmony with the land and not doing damage to other species, while cattle ranching is probably, despite the green look there and the cowboy hat and the bridled horse, one of the most damaging industries on the planet, that unlike coal and oil and even lithium mines, people don't realize to what extent it is one of the most damaging industries. So that's the difference. So we're all part of nature, yes, but you can also do damage in an ecosystem and kill lots of other species and pollute the planet.
Well, more specifically, the circle of life thing, that one I will be adamant we aren't in that circle. We are on the outside extracting. Nothing eats us. We don't even let our bodies go back into the system afterward. We put ourselves inside of tombs and special graveyards. I mean, we don't even allow the earth to reabsorb us after we die. We're not in the circle ever.
Actually, we cut down a giant mahogany tree,
right.
build a box out of it,
for our
line
precious
it with nylon and velvet, and then put our bodies in there so we don't decay, and then bury that 6 feet under the ground. So we kill a tree while we're trying to let our body go back to nature, but we don't really want it to because we're afraid of death and the soil. So Leah, I sent you the link. Leah Wilburn joins us. I think she's pulled over to the side of the road because she's such a...
Our hands, our feet, and the food we eat.
She's saying our hands and our feet as they ride a fucking tractor.
And I have dogs. I love animals.
Yes, exactly. The specific ones. And these are also working animals, even though they're our friends. You know, humans always choose two: dogs and horses.
And cats.
Yeah.
Lesser extent, but yes. I mean, I love we both love all these animals, just for the record, folks.
Oh, NC is bringing it again. Also parts of nature: uranium, arsenic, asbestos,
radioactivity. Yep, it's all part of nature. Or as George Carlin said, dog shit. Not dog food. Dog shit is part of nature. It's all natural. It's just not really good food.
Well, all right, we can do an episode on that.
Go for it. Roll the tape.
I visit with some of the birders that come here and do bird counts. At our headquarters, we had some barn owls. They didn't see them for 3 or 4 months, so they thought that they were gone.
What mani-pedi spa day did they interrupt to bring this guy out to be in the film? Stop it.
I have seen part of this. I don't want to pick on the individual here, but let me just talk about the content of what he said. So barn owls, well, they were out of here for months. They didn't see any barn owls. And then, hey, we saw a barn owl, which means, hey, we're at peace with nature. 1 barn owl or 2 barn owls showed up over months, as opposed to if there was no ranch at all. To Reyes' point, what you don't see is how many owls would be if there wasn't a ranch there driving them away.
You know what's sad about, I was looking up barn owls, and one of the reasons that they started going to barns is because their trees were chopped down.
Of course. Yep.
But how about, it's almost like he's trying to talk trash about the birders. Oh, you people aren't connected, but you have them locked in your barn. How the hell are they going to see them? But to your point, oh, good, you have a set of owls in your barn. I guess you have saved nature single-handedly.
Well, and the other thing too, I was aware of, oh God, this is a recurring theme, but I don't know. I mean, I'm talking here all high and mighty on my high horse, as it were. And how much time do I spend in nature? I'm not living out on the land either. But when I go out to Point Reyes, I go, oh my gosh, imagine what this place would look like if there was no cattle ranching and no fences and no road even. And there's little parts of Point Reyes National Seashore, a 71,000 acre park, where you can get into the forest. And it's teeming with life. You can feel it teeming with life versus how decimated everything is, that becomes the new normal. The analogy of, what is it, frogs and hot water?
That's what these guys are depending upon. It's like, hey, if it's not us, then it's high rises. Well, it doesn't happen.
If young people work in the tech industry, good people, whatever that means, and they're doing their jobs and they come out to Point Reyes like, wow, like I lived in the city and I came from Manhattan and I go out to drive through Point Reyes and as you said, oh, look, there's green rolling hills of cow farms and then there's some beach and some forest. And I had no idea what I was looking at. I needed an education still.
Right. But these kids, these techies that make all this money and then want to know what to do with it, end up getting hobby ranches, because instead of actually understanding what's happening in nature, they're hearing, oh, a ranch is how you will keep nature going. So they continue to hurt nature, thinking that they're helping nature.
Yeah, and that even extends, unfortunately, to Native American culture today. It's been so decimated. My mother was a professional photographer, and she photographed a few Indian tribes, Seminole Indian tribe in Florida for one. And I mean, she was a cool lady, my mom, and these ranchers were really cool to her. They understood she was a member of the wannabe tribe. She wanted to be an Indian. She connected with them. And she was photographing these Indians in the 1980s, and they were cattle ranching.
Yeah.
Hey, Leah's here. Good morning, Leah.
Oh, you guys can see me? Jeez,
I can see you. You're very little in the corner like a postage stamp. Good morning.
Good morning. It would be nice if it let you know that you're being seen by the world. Anyway,
you're now being seen big by the world. Good morning. Leah Wilburn, for those who don't know, is an amazing young woman who is currently farmed animal campaigner for, may I say all this?
Sure.
Okay, for a farmed animal campaigner for In Defense of Animals, an organization I do some consulting work with. But Leah is a fiery activist in her own right, stands on her own 2 feet, goes her own way in the world, and is one of the few people that I know, like Skyler, who's not afraid to speak the plain, complete truth, rather than partner with Audubon to make progress about more humane ways to kill animals on small regenerative ranches.
All right, we got to keep moving.
I say no. I say hi to him every morning.
I'm sorry, if that guy can throw a bale of hay further than me, then I won't show my face in society until I've strengthened myself. And look, see, I can stop every frame of this film. Barren, desolate soil, dust going up. Guess what? That's where the horse gets to live. I'm sure it doesn't want to be out in the field or running through the trees. Lucky prisoner, lucky slave.
Opened that big barn door over there, and there was a pair right up at the top.
It's amazing. That's about the strongest point they have in this film, that there were some owls in the barn. Now, guys, anyone watching, I'm going to try and be interactive. Does anyone recognize what he's walking through right now? I didn't when I started filming the Shaman Point Reyes, and then I spent the next few years learning plants. That's wall barley. It's not good. It's not supposed to be here, but it was brought by European agriculture, and it's very dangerous for your dogs. Extremely invasive.
My mom and dad tell me I was born with my boots on.
Jesus Christ, that means you were disconnected from Earth from the beginning.
Can I say something? Because I can only be here for like 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I'm chomping at the bit, proverbially.
Champing.
This film will do it to you.
Yeah. In addition to the environmental organizations that have sold out basically to animal ag, don't call it big ag, don't call it big dairy.
Hold on, Leah. Hold on, Leah. Skyler, would you show her so we can see the person who's talking, please? Thank you.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Thank you.
Well, I just thought I would share, and I guess I could keep these orgs anonymous.
Not on my channel.
Working in the capacity that I do for pretty big animal protection organization. I was invited to be in a coalition of a very large group of organizations who are mostly environmental organizations, but there are also a couple animal protection organizations. And I just want to kind of, in case people don't realize that these talking points of it's the industrialized, it's the big ag, it's the big dairy that's doing all the harm. So we're going to go out after the big banks, which is great, you know, to go to where the money is so that they will stop funding factory farms. They will stop funding industrialized farms. So I was in this meeting and it was just all this talk about industrial this, industrial that. And then one of the orgs, oh yeah, we were started by a small dairy farmer, which basically was reinforcing the idea of it's the small, nice farmers that are the good thing. So I had to kind of throw a spanner in the works and say, are you guys advocating against all animal ag to the big banks in your marketing, or is this just industrial? Same old thing that I'm always hearing. Oh no, we're not against all animal agriculture. We're only against the ones that are not humane and only against the ones that are not sustainable. And so then the conclusion from that always is, okay, everyone, go watch Kiss the Ground, go watch Common Ground, go listen to these so-called vegans who are promoting this propaganda and feel better about buying animal products that say regenerative and grass-fed. And this was a point I had to make to Cory Booker when I met him briefly. And he starts trying to make me feel better about, well, yes, I vote against CAFOs. I vote against factory farms. And I had to interrupt him and say, factory farming is not the real problem. It's animal farming. Grass-fed is even worse for the environment. So that's just the message that I just want to make sure everybody hears.
We're going to have you on in the future to get deep into that. You know,
Yeah.
one of the fears I have is as people embrace this idea of go away from the factory farm and let's put cattle on every last inch of land that remains. What are you doing to the wildlife?
Yeah.
You're saying goodbye to the wildlife, but you have Audubon telling you that in fact it's wildlife habitat. They had a professional film crew out there and couldn't get one shot of wildlife in a film in which people believed them that they're promoting, that they're helping wildlife.
And let me just be, as I like to be, Captain Obvious here and see if I can do it in one compact sentence. A challenge for Jack. Small, family-owned, organic dairy and beef farms, comparing them to factory farms, use more land, which we don't have to devote to more cattle ranching, are still horrifically cruel to all the animals, are not humane, actually produce more methane because grass-eating cows with more roughage in their stomach produce more methane. So whatever small gains you get from moving your cattle around and not trampling down as much earth in one place is just spread out over more land and produce more methane. So it's more damaging to the environment than the giant industrial feedlots people are taught to hate. There is no humane way to raise an animal or kill an animal for profit.
But instead of just not doing the wrong thing, Jack, now we can spend more money fighting that other problem by putting methane masks on cattle, harvesting seaweed from the ocean, kelp from the ocean, and destroying that habitat, because that's maybe a measurable less amount of methane. Whatever you do, don't stop doing what you shouldn't be doing in the first place. Just tell the world that you're a cutting edge rancher because you found a way to exploit the planet in another way in your desperate, stubborn desire not to change.
I'm going to let you speak next, Leah, I promise. My thing is, I'm paraphrasing. I know we got a lot to do. Paraphrasing Skyler Thomas from Shaman Point Reyes, and he said, cattle ranching is probably the most inefficient way to raise food for humans to eat.
Yeah. And by the way, it's the time of year where the hay trucks and the cattle trucks are passing each other constantly on the highway. all this hay and alfalfa being grown in California. What a waste of California, by the way.
Yep.
And that's still not enough. It's being imported out of Nevada, crossing through Tahoe, invasive seeds blowing all over the highway. But yeah, it's efficient.
Leah, did you have anything to add, my dear?
Well, this whole thing is a great way to bring in more donations. You make people feel better that there's a good way to do it, then they'll buy more. So it's actually, when you're only talking about industrial and factory farming, what could be more perfect for an organization that wants to be seen as, we care about animals, we care about the environment, because they like to say that factory farming is what's so terrible for the environment.
Mm-hmm.
They make everyone feel better, and then they get more donations and pats on the back.
Well, everyone just look for the
factory farms.
Leah,
right?
just look for the Autobahn. Just look for the green Autobahn certified meat sticker on your meat now.
Exactly.
Thus teaching people that it's okay to keep eating animals when it is not at all in every way.
Doesn't only a small percentage of the population actually have the budget or willingness to spend the money that's required to buy that food anyway?
No, no. Fast food. All the fast food restaurants make it super cheap, and it's subsidized by the public and unbeknownst to them.
You think that's grass-fed?
He's talking about the local.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
No, this is what I'm saying. Like this Morris, this company here, Morris Grass-Fed.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
their meat is not cheap. No way.
Diamond Ranch.
No way.
It's totally elitist on top of everything else, and then they call vegans elitist.
But what's really crazy is that the people that are shaking their heads and all excited about this video are still going to go to Costco and buy their cheap meat.
Of course. Yep.
Maybe they'll just tell themselves that Morris Grass-Fed is found in Costco, or maybe
exactly. They're made to feel better, and then they just go, well, I watched that film, now I feel great about buying animal products. And it's not like they're going and searching for the grass-fed label, but it just makes them feel better in general about eating all of it.
Throws shade is the expression.
Yeah. One of the first videos I ever made that was clearly vegan was going to Costco and looking behind the rack that was out front and like a warehouse full of the rotisserie chickens ready to take their place. And like, people, there's not a chance in hell that those animals had a good life.
Exactly.
produced on that level. So you can take it home for a reduced dollar.
And the other thing is, regardless of if they had a good life or not, they were sent to a slaughterhouse. There is nothing humane or gentle about a slaughterhouse, but even worse than that, they were used and killed unnecessarily.
I want everyone to take a ride on those livestock trucks. You don't have to live the life that the animals did. You couldn't get through the truck ride at the end of their lives. What a nightmare. Anyway, back to the film.
So my connection to the land was visceral. We've been taking care of land and cattle and all kinds of wildlife for 5 generations.
Okay. I can't.
5 generations. Yes. Make sure you
taking care of. I mean, he's literally talking about exploiting the earth, consuming natural resources. I know his ancestors hunted like a mofo, wiping out everything. Were hand in hand with the timber industry, getting rid of the trees so that they could have more grass. And look at that poor mule. I mean, that thing's empty behind the eyes.
You know, there's one thing he did say that was true, though. He said he has a visceral connection. That's true, because when you gut a cow and cut it open, you do expose the steaming viscera.
Nice, Jack.
Thank you.
But he doesn't have to be witness to that because he just sends him to a slaughterhouse.
But unless he's really, really good, he'll have a on-site slaughter.
Sure, that's true.
Yep, some of them do.
Yeah.
Those are the truly good people.
Yeah.
On-site slaughter is what separates the good people from the bad people.
Since the middle of the 19th century, since the gold rush. Even though I was raised in San Francisco, this was home.
Raised in San Francisco. With a visceral connection to the land.
You know, and this is the other challenge we face, you know, trying to educate people about stuff. It's just there's such a romance in this country with the cowboy. You know, it sells cigarettes and Marlboro, and here it is, like, they're talking about ranching and showing a guy riding a horse. Like, what does it have to do with his business? But gosh, I'm sold because he's a cowboy. And Skyler did the ultimate 2-minute film, which we should start the next show when we do part 2 of the show, because we're not going to finish this week. we should start off with a film that Skyler does, which I call Cowboy, which is just a brilliant evisceration of this topic.
Yeah, please,
Oh.
please do.
What do you think,
When I'm
Skyler?
on
You open,
next,
you
please
open a
do.
show on that thing next week?
Well, I don't know if
In
sure.
context.
Sure.
Okay.
How many minutes has this film spent with these shots of getting the slaves ready for the workday? I mean, can you get a shot of some wildlife in your wildlife film instead of convincing everyone that you're connected to the land because you put all this equipment on your work slave?
No, the cowboy thing, everyone loves that more than anything.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah, and especially the guys. Oh, look. Okay, good. I can think of myself as a cowboy, so I'm gonna eat meat because these heroes are. And then, of course, women love a good cowboy. They think it's sexy, I guess. Certain population.
Who, Jack will know when he comes back. Who wrote This Land?
Woody Guthrie.
The guy who talks about how being a cowboy was actually not very romantic at all.
Woody Guthrie, right?
I think you're right.
Yeah, pretty
Maybe
sure.
Maybe I just shouldn't mention things until I am ready.
Yeah, I don't for sure. I think he did This Land Is Your Land, right?
Corinne says, I was present at an on-site slaughter. I will have nightmares forever.
Wow, Corinne. Wow.
The human mind is like a monkey flying a jet plane. I would agree with you, except that's not fair to monkeys.
Yep.
Oh, Jack.
Oh,
Jack.
and do we all know, all of you who live in the Bay Area, the last USDA certified slaughterhouse is in Marin County, or at least it has the word Marin on it, called Marin Sun Farms. You go on that website, green rolling hills, and don't worry, we're certified by the USDA. We kill animals on the spot here, and we will show you rolling hills and...
Well, I don't know if that's fair,
Okay.
Leah. It is, they do kill them with love. They love them as they kill them,
That's true. That makes it all better.
as children.
As babies. Killing mothers and their babies. Yeah.
And I know we all sound like crazy vegans to the people watching, but here's a very simple challenge. If you're so impressed by this USDA slaughterhouse label, go watch them being slaughtered.
Yep.
Not one. Fucking sit in there and listen to the animals scream all day, smell what fear smells like because it starts coming out of their glands. Look at their wild eyes, cannot escape. Death is surrounding them. And then give your kids that you brought with you a kiss on the cheek and order a hamburger, you fucking psychopaths.
And
Thank you.
Corinne,
If you would have asked me 7 years ago if Audubon was going to put its logo on a package of beef, I wouldn't have believed you.
So there she is, representing Audubon. You shouldn't believe it, and you shouldn't be doing it now, you piece of trash. You guys can be nice. You're a piece of trash, Megan.
well, to be fair to Megan Hertel and Audubon, you know, I'm sure the cattle industry has gone up to Audubon before and said, hey, would you give us a certification that says humane and we'll put it on all our animal products? And they said, no way. What are you talking about? We're Audubon. We care about the land and nature and birds, and how dare you? And then the ranching industry said, how about 10 million bucks? They said, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so why be fair to her then? Why be fair?
I was
That's
being
what they
facetious.
decided
I
to
was
do.
being facetious, wise girl.
I know.
Once
but-
again, a field of non-native invasive grasses. Intelligently, one thing I'll give them credit for, at least they filmed most of it during the spring, so people aren't just being shocked with the visual of the combustible fire fuel that the ranchers brought over from Europe and are perpetuating in California.
Meaning these grasses will turn brown and become a fire hazard. And then the ranchers get to say, well, we need cows to graze the grass.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have a fire hazard that we created.
Exactly. In the meantime, somehow humans have declared war on trees instead of the invasive grasses.
Yep.
Audubon was going to put its logo on a package of beef. I wouldn't have believed you. When we looked at what
Wow, everybody. even we were convinced. If we can be convinced, you should believe it. I mean, that is a really damaging message.
And also note she's walking where cattle don't walk.
Right. Right. I mean, they show where cattle do walk and it looks bad. But by the way, now we're looking at lop grass, Italian rye. Again, nothing native in that shot except for the trees. This is California now. Nothing native except for a few trees that remain.
And I'm sorry, I just got to interject this for whatever it's worth, but you keep saying non-native and invasive, and I bristle at those words every time you say them.
You're not doing that during this show. We're going to do a whole separate show debating that.
I just want to put an asterisk there, and we'll get into it later.
Okay.
What birds were in trouble? We realized that grassland bird species were doing the worst. And if we wanted to save grassland bird species, we needed to go where they were. And this is where they are.
Where? I'm sorry. You got her finish. What's the point she's making there?
She means right there on Morris Grass-Fed's land is where they are.
I see.
This is the case of there's absolutely nothing else. Like the birds could go to the city, the birds could go to the factory farms, or the birds could try to use habitat out of these non-native grasses.
It's like saying we want to save grasshopper. Grasshopper is an important part of nature. Everything's connected. We need grasshopper, so we want to save grasshopper habitat. How? By having more grass. And it's typical, human management as an excuse to control everything, which means killing the things we don't want and then justifying, extraction for profit. Oh boy.
Yeah, Corinne, good catch. The binoculars are a good prop because she never sees a native bird that they show us. But wait, this gets better.
We designed the
And obviously,
she's a bird watcher too, everyone.
She's a bird watcher, and they love dogs. So obviously they're good people.
They're good people.
Audubon Conservation Ranching Program.
And
oh God.
look at the
And we're exploiting and riding other animals too, because why wouldn't we?
But they're connected to the earth.
Sure, they're connected to the animal they're exploiting, and then the earth under them.
Because cowboys, and America.
Program to partner with the people that are stewarding the land.
Stewarding again, stewarding, using it for their purposes, and some wildlife haven't completely gone extinct yet. Yeah, you're completely right, Jack. They're showing where the cattle aren't.
Well, isn't that a golf course?
Birds can tell us a lot of
See, the only reason it's not a golf course, Leah, is that they don't let golf courses get that tall.
things about the health of an ecosystem. And one of the reasons is
I got to get conservation ranching program manager for Audubon. The fact that that's a title today, the fact that that is a title that exists.
And just freeze this frame though. So he's standing with a beautiful live oak tree in California behind him, which is to say, I'm going to stand in front of one of the few trees we haven't cut down for our pasture.
Yes.
And this is the place where ranching. This is the place where ranching doesn't happen.
Yeah,
exactly.
And his title is a total oxymoron. Conservation and ranching do not go together, but we're going to put them together so you will equate ranching with conservation.
The clean coal of the cattle industry.
Yeah.
If you think about it, what they're really talking about is conserving the ranchers because they're doing everything they can to make sure they don't go away.
And the cowboy mythology, to quote Marty in the comments here, cowboy mythology, rugged individualists that pulled themselves up by their bootstraps.
Bootstraps. It's always bootstraps and 5 generations worth. I have to go, you guys. Thank you. I'll see you soon.
Oh, thanks,
okay,
Leah.
thanks,
for
Leah.
having me on. Okay.
See you next time.
Leah. Yeah, rugged individualists. Well, we still don't even have that in this show yet. We got manicure, pedicure boy, and then this guy.
Oh, I think you're going to show more. Or that's good.
I am.
is that birds can fly. If they don't like an ecosystem, they're not going to be utilizing that ecosystem.
Okay, that's a really important point right here. They had to use photos, and there's credits given at the end for the people that they had to use these photos from because they couldn't get shots of the birds utilizing the ecosystem themselves.
I just love even the like, wow, he must be educated. He talks about animals utilizing their ecosystem instead of like animals live in the land, but we're going to destroy it so that we drive them off.
He actually kind of nailed what we were saying earlier about, oh, this must be great habitat. And he says, look, if this wasn't good habitat, the birds wouldn't be here. They literally don't have other options, which now we have to celebrate. It doesn't mean that there isn't something that they would prefer. We've just taken away all their options, and they're not committing suicide. They're not contemplating, oh God, life is too hard. It's not what wildlife do. Otherwise maybe they would. Okay. Again, non-natives. Look at that.
Wow.
Now this looks like it was filmed a different month because things are starting to turn yellow. Once again, the only thing fire resistant or native out there are the handful of oak trees that were not chopped down by the original ranchers to make room for even more grass. How unsustainable does your business have to be that you have to chop down trees because you need every last blade of grass that you can possibly get? And by the way, that's ripgut brome in the foreground, another terrible, terrible plant that will hurt your pets, much less other wildlife or other animals.
Thank you for knowing the plants. I don't. And for me, what's fascinating about how this film is constructed is a public relations exercise. Shot after shot after shot shows trees, long shots, close-ups, wide angle, up angle, down angle, trees, which are the thing that farming, ranching, cows doesn't do.
Right. And in fact, Strauss and what's the other dude's name?
Bill Nyman,
warning us that native habitat will come back if they aren't allowed to keep fighting against it.
Meaning they want to keep cows at Point Reyes Seashore. Otherwise, the land will suffer without cattle ranching, which is, of course, again, an oxymoron. It's the opposite of the reality there, which is the reason the land will recover only if cows are removed from Point Reyes, so they stop trampling it as they've been doing for a century or more.
Right.
Relationship between cattle and birds is
relationship between cattle and birds, Jack,
is what I wonder. But more trees here, and they're walking where the cattle aren't. Again, this is the areas that have not been destroyed for cattle ranching, is where they film this film about the joys of cattle ranching.
I gotta pretend that I'm the director. Hey, can you guys pretend that you see something? Point. We won't be able to get a shot of it, but it'll look like you're educating each other and enjoying nature.
Well, they're going to the trees to go find some birds because there's nothing on the farm.
Go to Kehoe. Go to Kehoe if you want to see a relationship between cattle and birds. Ravens and starlings that aren't supposed to be there, certainly not in those numbers. And feeding on the grain being fed to the cattle and open. By the way, it's supposed to be closed feeding situations, but the ranchers in Point Reyes don't obey any of the rules and don't get fined for not obeying the rules. Eating out of the cow poop and sitting on the cows' backs. That's the relationship. Birds that have wiped out the other species of native birds because they've been allowed to increase their numbers unnaturally because of the presence of cattle.
And another example of that is Corinne in the comments says she and her fellow Andy went to a Sonoma County regional park called Crane Creek. It was spring when all the hawks are very active, but they just started grazing cattle there and they saw no birds because of course, there aren't as many birds where cattle graze. Other than as you said, the flocks of birds who are actually, do you know when there's flocks of starlings and crows sitting around, Kehoe Farm at Point Reyes Seashore, what are they feeding on? Is it feed that they put out for the cows? Is that why they're congregating in such huge unbalanced numbers?
Yeah, I've seen it spilled all over the road at Kehoe, across the tourist road on the other side, the troughs. And I assume that they probably try to get bugs off of the cattle hide and out of the cattle poop.
Right. Or even probably insects also. I don't know this, but insects coming to the cow manure, the piles?
Yeah, exactly.
Significant because the way they graze provide.
The way they graze. I got to rewind that.
And birds is significant because the way they graze provides the habitat that the birds utilize.
God, I don't understand that.
I know.
I don't understand what the point he's trying to make.
Well, it's not understandable, and this is when I get mad at the human race. How many people just accepted that because it sounded nice?
He said, so he said basically the cattle are creating habitat for birds, but how do they do that? I don't understand.
And it's never explained because they don't have to. It's what people wanted to hear.
Wait a second. Are you saying that if someone says if we impose tariffs, the country will become rich and everyone will have jobs? It may not be true just because it was stated confidently? Crazy. Okay.
The Audubon Conservation Ranching Program.
Again, everything in the foreground, non-native. Jack, I particularly don't like these because they cause me pain. If that's one reason for me not to like the invasives, the native California plants were actually quite kind. And these plants will send your dogs to the vet.
Yeah. An ex of mine had a dog who inhaled one of the grasses and it had to get it, surgically removed. So I hear you.
Now, I do want people to remember what this scene looks like, because if you aren't upset by non-native species the way I am, at a minimum, remember how this looks compared to when they do finally show cattle. And can someone name one wildlife animal that has been shown so far? Just one in this wildlife video.
In harmony with nature, in harmony with nature's. Right.
Extends an
There we go. Look at that happy ground.
interest of Julie's and mine to connect people in town and city.
Oh.
Good looking guy. Could be a male model for, a thinner Marlboro new generation of less fat cowboys.
With people who are
He was born with his boots on, Jack.
working on the land.
We actually see grass-fed beef as a byproduct of our land stewardship.
You fucking bitch.
There, does that make you happy, Karen? You guys are laughing, but I feel really angry. Well, I think we're a little angry too. We just handle it all in different ways to survive.
Yeah, if you think I'm not angry, I'm like, I'm like the line from Hulk. I'm always angry.
I'm always angry. Right. I'm always angry.
I study this and I know that we're doomed. It's not an easy thing to live with.
Yeah.
Also, Andy videoed a cow pooping and peeing and then drinking water from Stemple Creek. This was on the Tresh Ranch. Jim Coda has filmed that, photographed that. It's something that is different from wildlife than cattle, is defecating in your water source.
Meaning Jim Coda, wildlife photographer and retired attorney, has a picture of a cow standing in a creek at Point Reyes Seashore and is squirting liquid poop into the stream, which is, it's where fish live and swim in a national park, and they're dealing with cow manure. And of course, we did water testing to prove that there's a lot of that manure in the water, polluting the water of Point Reyes Seashore. By the way, I just want to do a time check. It's I've got 10:06 here, so we're over the hour. We could keep going. There's a lot more to do. Do you want to just break this into a part 2 rather than I always hesitate to make a recording that's an hour and a half long versus 60
Absolutely.
minutes.
I want to show a few more seconds from this film just
Sure.
to end on a good laugh, and then we will do a part 2 where this is going to be an ongoing theme. We'll take breaks because there's other important stuff to report on, but this is going to be good.
We have more film to show
If
you.
we can preserve the open spaces that also maintain these businesses, that's a win-win for everybody.
I just want everyone to understand that it starts with your business. Your business is turning nature into commodities, and you're going to turn around. And this whole idea is to convince people that they're doing us a favor because they're doing the business that they were already doing. Hey, buy our products that make us money at the expense of the planet, and now buy into this video that says it's not at the expense of the planet.
Yeah.
Praise me for being a good person. Again, we got the stewardship line coming out. Have one of these people given up any of their cattle grazing acreage to be dedicated to the restoration of the plants that were historically supposed to be there? The answer is no. But look, she likes dogs. Can't question her. All these shots.
And horses. I love dogs and horses. I'm a good person.
My name is Libby Porzig. I'm an ecologist, and I'm the director of the Working Lands Group at Point.
Oh God, Point Blue Conservation Science. Oh my God.
I told you.
I call them point blank, since they are in the business of killing things.
Yep.
Wow. A PhD. Yep. Oh my God, this poor girl. A PhD.
How dare we?
Intelligent and completely brainwashed by the industry, and of course, you know, the job.
Jack, come back when you have a PhD. You can't question her until then. And then even the people that didn't want to believe you in the first place will dismiss your PhD. I dealt with this from the beginning in the shark industry. These douchebags with PhDs that have never even seen a shark once in their lives telling the world how sharks should and shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Oh, but do you have a PhD?
And it's even worse than that. It's even worse than that, Skyler, meaning, you know, there are examples. I'm thinking of one where you get a PhD and then you're the one PhD who's defying all the other PhDs. And they're like, oh, Chad Hansen, who's a forest advocate, who's with the Sierra Club and has a PhD in forest ecology, is dismissed as, he's an outlier.
Well,
because there's not a whole bunch of other people with PhDs agreeing with him. Exactly.
I mean, if I were to ever complete the PhD program, that's exactly what happened. So it's not exactly motivating.
I think of rangelands as the heart of California.
God damn.
What is her point? The rangeland is the heart of California. We're going to see some soil here and showing how wonderful it is. Is that the point?
I mean, she's working with her hands, Jack. Don't question her.
These ecosystems are iconic. They support.
It's not an ecosystem. You have not shown one ecosystem yet.
Go ahead. Play it.
Enormous numbers of plants and animals that we can't find anywhere else in the world.
Can you show me one?
She's looking for one. She's searching through the soil to find anything that's alive in that dirt.
And we are losing them.
Because of what we do. Oh, God.
We are losing them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is even taught in school. It's not a vegan thing. The number one leading cause of habitat destruction and species extinction is agriculture.
No, cattle, animal agriculture, cattle ranching.
Well, if I say agriculture, I'm still correct.
But it's plants and animals. I'm just saying I try to avoid the umbrella term because people don't know what agriculture means. It's the general, it's all of it. And there's some agriculture that's good, which is you can grow plants and vegetables regeneratively without using herbicides that does far less harm to the land, right? So that's agriculture too, that's all.
I'm at the point that the nicest thing I'll say about agriculture is that some of it isn't as bad as other, but it's a food waste industry. It's not done intelligently.
Want to put us up on the screen here to have our last comments and finish up, sir?
Yeah, we do. We need, boy, it's hard to stop making fun of that film, but we'll do part 2 next week.
Yeah. And there are other films. I mean, it's actually, I really enjoy this guy. I actually ask our audience here, actually, if folks would, this video will now be posted in Watching Humans YouTube channel of Skyler. And if you make some comments there, it'd be very much appreciated. And if you say we'd like to see more film clips, or we like the format of film clips, or we don't like the format of film clips, I like it, getting to comment on this stuff, because you got to battle the PR. If it's just us talking heads here in a relatively small environment ecosystem, you can't possibly debunk that stuff. So it's important to show it.
Corinne says, let's face it, the U.S. is one huge cattle ranch. And you're not even exaggerating. At least 50% of the land is for cattle grazing. 50%?
Yeah. And if you go from large feedlots to more small family farms, that number would have to increase. You'd have to expand the hoof print of cows on the land for beef and dairy production, which would do more ecological damage, as was just depicted in that film, saying how great they are, while showing, let's keep making our film under the trees where we haven't let our cows destroy everything. Because if we show where the cows are, you'll see how degraded the land is and devoid of wildlife it is.
But you can dismiss veganism, but if you want to, ladies and gentlemen, but at the end of the day, does it not bother you at all that they couldn't even show you in the film that they're saying, making these claims? They couldn't even show you a shred of evidence in their own film? If that doesn't turn on a warning light in your heads, then what can I say? You're probably anxiously awaiting turning this off to go buy a hamburger.
Well, and to the points we were making, people don't know. And then as I didn't want to know. Like, it's upsetting to hear, the fancy term is cognitive dissonance, where you have a belief system because you were raised in it and the culture around you supports it. And someone introduces an idea that would tear that whole tent down. And that's upsetting. So that's what we're up against, is changing the entire culture.
It's
with
not
education.
easy. Jack and I both took our sweet time before we decided to wake up. Guilty.
Yeah. Guilty as charged. I fought it. I was like, I had a vegan friend in the 1990s in New York City, kind of on my ass about, what's in that milk and that so-and-so. And they're like, just shut up, whatever. You're weird. You're in a tiny little minority. I don't know what you're talking about it.
Well, yeah. I'm going to play the tune as we outro. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next Tuesday. And
every
Jack
Tuesday
said,
night.
Your comments are great. Let us know what you're thinking.
On the Watching Humans YouTube channel, where this and every podcast is posted after the fact, so you can share it with folks. And also it's on my treespiritproject.com/podcasts page. See, and please do share and get more people to watch. It's really helpful. And we'll see you next Tuesday, 9 o'clock Pacific time.